Your Mavs
What's up,
suck,
guys?
guys.
Can I say that? We're starting up with that? Oh, man. Hey, I gotta take the punches where I can.
I've been so nauseous this whole week. I went to game 3 thinking all right, this is, we're going to make a comeback here and these guys are just too good. The Celtics are really, really well coached. We just look like a mess out there, man.
You know, every game day, I feel like I'm just dreading to see for what we're about to watch every time. Today's exactly that. Game 4 tonight. We'll see if we can win something.
USA Cricket made it into the T8, so that's the top 8. So that'd be fun to watch. Now at least cricket's gonna be exciting.
Giving us some.
So is it true 2026 US doesn't have to qualify anymore? They're automatically into the World Cup?
I know that 2026, when the Olympics come to the US, cricket is going to be a sport in the U.S. Olympics. That I do know.
It's automatically in, right? You don't have to qualify as a host country.
I think so. Yeah, I remember. But it's different than T20, right? So T20 is this, and I assume now that they're in, I mean, they made the Series 8 or the Super 8, sorry, it's what's called. They're in. I think they're in now. They're now they've become a big team, and those. I think somebody's gonna start spending money against them, right? Because they're at least have a brand.
Men go mad.
He's gone mad.
Madmen.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Madmen.
I'm mad.
Well, let's get into it. We got a special edition episode for you guys today. It's my take, so I get to drive. But we're going to take a little spin off the typical flow. So I'd like to officially welcome you to the Mad Men Lab, where we get to put on our metaphorical lab coats and become marketing mad scientists. So what I've asked for guys to do is to dissect a brand that has fumbled in the past, but we're going to try to put a little Mad Men magic on it to formulate a plan that'll bring them back in today's world. So that was the assignment. Pick a brand that is no longer relevant or has struggled in the past or maybe even dead today, and bring them back. What was the brand known for? How did they used to be successful? What did they do wrong that caused them to fail? And if you guys were given unlimited resources to revive the brand today, what would you do? So we get to put our CEO hat on, a CMO, maybe some product development and R&D, and resurrect a brand from the dead. So with that, let's get into it. Who's our first patient on the operating table of the Mad Men Lab? Adil, you want to go first?
I'll do it first. So I did a little bit of a twist, guys. So I'm going to be talking about Banana Republic, and I know they've already they're starting to come back in their own way, but I took your assignment, Samir, and decided to add my own little twist to it, saying if I was to do the rebrand and the resurgence of Banana Republic, this is what I would do. So Banana Republic, you can make a totally different type of comeback in a much greater way, much more impactful way if you follow this playbook. So let's first talk about how they got started. Banana Republic began as a travel and safari themed brand. It was in 1978. They had a really unique approach to fashion. And this was all news to me because I seriously thought this was completely made by Gap Inc. But this was a kind of a small fashion house brand started by a husband and wife. And they had a really unique approach to fashion. They really want to put emphasis on adventure and exploration. They would do these safari themed outfits and things like that. They wanted to really capture the imagination of consumers who wanted to travel, who love the idea of traveling, love the idea of exploration. Their stores were really cool. They were really exotic. They looked like bazaars, and they had a lot of lifestyle incorporated into it. So they would do all sorts of decor that made it look like a traveling market. And their pieces really blended lots of utility and took a lot of fashion risks too. I mean, you can imagine how many people are wearing safari themed stuff, right? So this really attracted a really unique audience, you can imagine. They did these really fun catalogs too, and this was really cool to see. They would talk about engaging travel stories, and they did really detailed product descriptions. And these are all things that we all say brands should do today, they were doing this in the late 70s. Like they really adopted the lifestyle of exploration. We see brands today, they're always talking about the lifestyle of their product, or the lifestyle, not necessarily of their product, but of their community. And the product is just happens to be something they do. Those are the good brands, right? Banana Republic was doing this in the late 70s. In 1983, though, Gap acquired them. So under Gap Inc., Banana Republic transformed into a major retailer. They added multiple lines. They added sophisticated workwear and some casual clothing. They even had some pretty iconic moments over the years. They had celebrities like Jessica Alba and Robert Pattinson. They were regularly wearing Banana Republic. They had runway models like Coco Rocha and Daria Werboe. They were on the runway wearing Banana Republic. And you guys remember the 90s and the 2000s, malls were the place to be, right? I mean, we remember the Express Days and Claire's and everything like that. Banana Republic rode that wave like no other. So in 1996, they had 200 stores. By 2000, they had 400 stores in the U.S. But what happened to Banana Republic after that? I think overall the spectacle of adventure and safari went away from their clothing. It was just gone. They lost this identity they had built. They did what all their shareholders told them to do. They started chasing a broader audience. And the problem with that is you no longer serve your core customer, and you no longer do what made you Banana Republic and what made you big in the first place. So you'd go into these Banana Republic stores then, and you'd never know what to expect. They had random suits that were sometimes $200 for the whole set, and then sometimes it'd be $1,000 suit. And then you'd have T-shirts that say Banana Republic, and then you had polos with an elephant on it. And then like it was just all over the place. The color palettes didn't make sense. The brand messaging was just confusing. So they were dealing with this internal identity crisis, and then there was changing market situations too. So the economic downturn at the time meant people didn't want to spend money on clothing anymore. And this was at the time when Zara and H&M were blowing up. So they were offering trendy styles at much lower prices. This literally killed mid-tier luxury, which included Banana Republic. So we can't really talk about what they could have done to, they've done their own resurgence, but in my scenario, we can't talk about their resurgence without talking about what Abercrombie has been able to do. So Abercrombie recently, you guys know, has had incredible success over the last few years. They went from a brand for the privileged and entitled to a brand for everyone. They literally went from you can't sit with us to everyone's welcome. A couple things they did, they dropped their pricing significantly. Actually, I mean, they went to a much more friendly price point, and they switched from trying to get everyone to wear the same thing, these same blue polos or white polos and the same jeans, to small runs, trendy pieces, and agile manufacturing. So they started to incorporate like only if they could prove that it was a good seller that they were going to do more of it. And this really decreased a lot of their risk. A lot of these changes also meant that how are they going to get the word out? They took a really unique approach with UGC. They sent out pieces to everybody. Like literally, they had so much diversity in their body shapes and the type of people they were involving for their UGC that it truly spoke to the heart of millennials and Gen Z, as it should, because it all of a sudden became about inclusivity. So it's that cool brand now that's like that everyone can wear. So here's my playbook for Banana Republic. I think they should reignite the explorer spirit. Travel is more important than ever. Experience is more important than ever. Use this to your advantage. They need to become the brand for when you travel. I think they should, to kind of kick this off, they need to maybe work on a viral product like Lululemon did for their crossbody bag. I think it would be really cool if they forced a campaign for a viral utilitarian product that brings Banana Republic back. It could be anything. It could be a bag. It could be whatever it is, but something that people say, oh, I need that for the next time I get onto an airplane or the next time I travel. So, of course, as an Explorer brand, I think they need to incorporate sustainability and like worldwide community. So having a commitment to short runs and carbon neutrality is probably going to be really important. I think it would be really cool to also start a program where you can donate your workwear, like your business casual clothing and stuff, to people who are trying to enter the workforce who can't necessarily afford nice workwear. I think that would be a really cool component. Let their stores be a place where you can donate these pieces, and then they can go to homeless shelters where people, trying to go for interviews and things like that. That's the feel-good component. Now, here's the master plan for the entire line. I think you need to break it up into 3 segments. You have segment 1, which is lounge, segment 2, which is explore, and segment 3, which is impact. So the lounge segment would be everything comfort and utility, right? So think your soft hoodies, the perfect travel jogger, breathable fabrics. Heck, bring back those pants that become shorts, with the zippers, doing its own cute little way that people actually want it. And this segment can also include some of your giftables or your novelty items like weekender bags or whatever that viral product is for your travel piece. I imagine this segment kind of catering to quiet luxury meets fear of God essentials. So neutral colors, something that's not necessarily so loud and stuff. You're not trying to attract, super bright colors, but something that is that like safari themed colors and things like that. Darker, just neutrals. I would think price everything in this segment under $80. The explore segment is a fun one and probably going to be the widest audience, right? So you can imagine this being casual and transitional. This is what you would wear when you leave your Barcelona hotel to go explore the city. Think versatility, utility, breathability. These will matter a lot in this segment. So work leisure continues to grow. The return to office phenomenon is still happening, and people are still are doing it. People are no longer in PJs either, sitting on their Zoom calls. So even if you decide to market to a work from home crowd, this could be a good segment to market to. But think work leisure to a casual night out. And Lululemon has started to do a little bit of this, but I think it could still be improved on because Lululemon still has to worry about their athletic component. So, explore segment is going to be really important. The last segment, and probably the one that people are going to talk about the most, is your impact segment. This is where you're going to create your viral pieces. So, you want people talking about Banana Republic again, do something that wows them and make it tasteful. Like this is really important because people wear rain jackets, but why not a cool, fun safari print on it? Now, Salim, you may not wear tiger print, but you know what? I'd probably rock a subtle tiger print if it was nicely done. Think coffee colored suede suits. If you're going to do suits, do something that gets people to say, wow, that's really cool, really unique. This is going to be those pictures that people take and put it as their Instagram. It's going to be that post that people talk about. Like, did you see what so-and-so was wearing? And it was a cool suede suit. So what Ralph Lauren has to Polo Ralph Lauren, the impact segment would have to Banana Republic as a whole. This is how you're going to just get people talking again. I mean, no one's buying trash bag tops from Balenciaga, but it's getting people to talk, right? So this is where the impact segment is. So key is to be tastefully bold, obviously, in this segment. Overall, I think Banana Republic, if I was to do your rebrand, it would have to incorporate that spirit of exploration and travel again. I think that is like such a good opportunity and so important to your identity. What do you guys think?
That was awesome, man. I love that. I love the choice. I mean, yeah, I know we talked about like Banana Republic is already kind of having a resurgence, but I think your take on it's really interesting. You're picking apart some of the elements that are working for other brands. So you have some like proven, ways in that are working for their shared audiences, right? Like there's kind of some overlap there. But I feel like we've talked about this in a couple of weeks in a row about the theme of the increase in travel and exploration with like today and the next generation, like, but why can't fashion play into that? I think you're right. I think the explorer element is in introducing fashion and clothing into that space could be a whole new occasion to shop for. And I think you're right that Banana Republic, who has like the legacy of playing in that space, can come back and own it outright. So it's a really cool take. Well done.
No, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of people that go and talk about, hey, when I'm going to go on vacation, I'm going to go buy this dress or this top or this shirt or this pant for vacation. And there's not a go-to brand that they go to. They're like sometimes you go Amazon, Shein, or whatever it is. But Banana probably could be that brand where it becomes that one travel stop place for all your travel needs, fashion-wise. I think you've picked on something that is legacy to them and could definitely take off with the right campaign, right marketing, and right influence. All right, so hear me out here. What if we brought Blockbuster back as a classics movie-only streaming service? Look, there's a lot of advantages here. It caters to a non-nostalgic seekers and film enthusiasts, showcasing your favorite movies. I mean, how many times have you gone around and said, hey, man, have you seen that movie back in the day? Or going back to a reference joke, I mean, can you find it, like, talk to your kids or your spouse and say, hey, did you watch that old movie? And, I mean, can you go to a place where easily stream like Pulp Fiction or Lion King or Forrest Gump or The Godfather or The Matrix? I mean, these are all old school, and look, they're old. They're the past their prime, right? So the cost of this is very economical, right? You could make this a very budget-friendly experience for them, and it fits right on brand for Blockbuster, because if you think of Blockbuster today, in the current brand that it is, which is, by the way, is owned by Dish Network, is an old-school movie destination. That's what people think of, so they'll capitalize on that, right? So, I mean, look, Blockbuster was the ultimate destination for movie rentals, revolutionizing home entertainment. And it had a vast selection of VH tapes, DVDs, and video games. And they did modernize as things came along. And at their peak, they had about 9,000 stores worldwide. And they were like a cultural phenomenon. Every weekend, people were going to Blockbuster. And the brand of success was built on convenience and creating a unique movie browsing experience. And then, do you remember walking through the aisle and finding Star Wars or Jurassic Park back in the days? I mean, it promised for a good evening of family night of going there, right? However, Blockbuster had their downfall, right? They weren't able to, they had a lot of missteps. One was, of course, they didn't revolutionize digital. They didn't do mail-ins. They didn't do the streaming. They didn't take any of that. And they didn't have any rights or the relationships existing, right? But they could have even bought Netflix, man. I mean, I think at one point they were big enough to buy Netflix. They just missed that opportunity at the beginning. And then they had those weird policies about late fees, alienating customers. People were so upset. It was easy to go and say, hey, look, they got greedy because they made a lot of money on late fees, and they just decided, like, hey, they could have gone away with it. And then, of course, external factors and the financial crisis, they all led to the bankruptcy back in 2010. So they died at about officially 2010. By the way, there's still one location. I think it's in Oregon. But here's my plan. Like, here's the plan for Blockbuster, right? One, and I started off with this, right, is that budget streaming classic movies place. Anything 10 years or older, that's Matrix, that's Harry Potter, that's Casablanca, that's Jurassic Park. Any of those could be streamed on this service. And of course, you've got the two versions, right? Like, hey, look, these are the production rights and stuff have gotten lower, so you could probably stream these get the rights for these for a little bit less than brand new movies that are coming just out in the shelves today, right? So get an ad-free version, get a non-ad version, you can get the pricing tiered up. I mean, these are practices that are actively working for people like Prime Video and Netflix, right? These are things that work today. And with a cheaper model of attaining those rights, you'll be able to bring the price down. But then you've got to bring that experience back, right? The second part of this is creating experiences based on those movies, right? Like, nobody does that. Like, you do the Stranger Thing pop-ups now, you do the other things, but what if you had like a Matrix pop-up or a Godfather pop-up, right? Like, these things happening in these experience cities would definitely create nostalgia, of course, but then you would want to do, hey, that's a good movie, or bring back those dialogues and stuff. And that leads me to the big moneymaker. The number 3 thing here isn't the streaming, isn't the pop-ups. It's taking those nostalgic movies and then building a production house and rebuilding those movies as remakes. Because remakes are in right now. Everybody's trying to do a remake of something or another, or that experience. So if you put all those things together, I mean, it could be just a new age for Blockbuster. And I mean, look at the marketing position on this, like nostalgic marketing. Like, imagine like dad and son, sharing their videos on social media about, hey, do you remember that time you saw Godfather the first time? Or the son saying that, oh, hey, I remember seeing Star Wars with my dad for the first time on streaming, right? Or getting those exclusive contents and unique events out. Like, you've got this exclusive content now that's nostalgic. You built that brand around it. And then lastly, of course, is community engagement. Like, you get all these people that are super fans of these movies. Pulp Fiction, I mean, come on, how many people are Pulp Fiction fans? And then you build that loyalty around that, and you build it around those movies, which are nostalgic, and you build that brand representation to, hey, classic movies equals Blockbuster. Blockbuster is classic movies because these were blockbusters of the time. I mean, look, I don't know what you guys think of that, but I think that's the revival that Blockbuster needs. And I know people have talked about it, but I think that's the Blockbuster revival we need.
Honestly, I love this so much. I started looking at, fun fact, Blockbuster did decline to buy Netflix in the year 2000 for $50 million. They could have acquired them. And of course, they weren't what Netflix is today. They were still the DVD mail-in service. But they scoffed and they just laughed it out of the room, basically. But you're right. There's something about the name Blockbuster that still resonates with American families. And there's a huge opportunity to do something IRL again with movies. I love the pop-up idea. Streaming service in general is like what people are realizing, or these companies have come to know that streaming is not profitable, right? But if you pair it with other things, then it could be profitable. I think to tack onto your idea of pop-ups, a struggle that I regularly have is like, I love to take, my kids love to go to the movies, but there are not enough kids movies in the theater. Like, it's almost always like, I feel like there's always a horror movie out and it's never like good ones. And I don't care to watch those, but for the kids, like, I would love to go see Mary Poppins with them. I'm just saying the most nostalgic movie out there. But like Willy Wonka, you know, like anything. Like, I mean, imagine if Blockbuster did partnerships with movie theaters across the country, and you have you can kind of incorporate like a movie pass membership. So you pay a Blockbuster membership, and then a portion goes to the movie theater, and then Blockbuster hosts that movie, right? So it's like something like that as a pop-up. You could do Twilight pop-ups as well, because that has its own community, Salim, the way Pulp Fiction has and everything. I think there's a real opportunity here. It would be really interesting to see what the big heads do for something like this, though.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think there is so much multi-generational equity built into these legacy movies, and there is not a lot of things out there that has multi-generational equity. And you've just given all these old films a whole new revenue stream. And who was the one that brought you these movies to you in the first place? Blockbuster. So the same movies that you shopped at the shelf long time ago is now bringing you this whole new experience in this day and age. Like, I think strategically, it's a perfect idea. It's a perfect fit for the brand that has permission to come and bring back these old movies and get to experience them a whole new way. So it's a great plan, Salim. I'm all for it. Sign me up as an investor.
Dish Network, I'm calling you out. Let's go Dish Network.
They could use some ideas over there for some innovative media or innovative revenue. But awesome. Well, I'm gonna take us through our last one. And I got Kodak. What was once a titan in the photography industry. They were founded in 1888, where they introduced the first ever Kodak camera, an easy to use box camera with roll film. They essentially democratized photography, allowing anyone to take pictures without the complexities or costs at that time. Let's take a moment to realize how breakthrough of an invention this was, the roll film camera. Kodak didn't just create a camera, they gave every person the power to capture memories and take those memories with them that passed along to generations and spread to many different people. Just imagine for a second a world where you didn't have the ability to capture a memory, a world where you can only experience something once, live, and now the only place it can live is in your brain. No ability to relive that moment or share that moment. That is what Kodak invented, the ability to capture memories. They were selling away to preserve cherished memories and build a visual history. Oh, and it wasn't just an amazing innovation. It was a booming business. Kodak held 70% of the market share in the amateur film market in the 1950s. It was a huge global brand with a well-established presence in multiple countries. They had an iconic brand with their yellow packaging and instantly recognizable logo. At its peak, Kodak was considered one of the 5 most valuable brands in the world. For context, today's most valuable brands in the world are Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Coca-Cola, Disney. Kodak was sitting in the clouds at the top of this top brands list. Well, what happened? It wasn't just a single misstep, but ultimately everything they did wrong can be laddered up to the digital revolution. Kodak actually had early patents for digital technology in the 1970s, but some executives believed digital photography would cannibalize their profitable film business. And this internal resistance amongst executives led to a huge delay in embracing the digital camera development. Marketing efforts continued to heavily promote film photography, even as digital cameras started gaining traction. So now the messaging missed the shift in consumer preferences. Kodak did eventually enter the digital camera market in the late 1990s, but they struggled to keep pace with competitors like Sony and Canon. Their initial offering was just too clunky and overpriced. The traditional photo finishing model, where people would drop off film for processing at a local store, that became less relevant as digital cameras allowed for instant viewing and editing of photos. So then that decline in photo finishing revenue further eroded Kodak's profits. Kodak's downfall was a case of clinging to a successful past while failing to see a disruptive potential of digital technology. They missed the opportunity to become a leader in the digital photography space and ultimately lost their grip on the market they once dominated. Now, this is where the fun begins. Let's talk about what I would do if I had unlimited resources to bring back Kodak from the dead. I would invest in a position that combines the nostalgia for film photography with the convenience of digital technology. There's an artistic expression of film that I feel like is more than a trend these days. Now, I think we're starting quite niche here to tap into this community of passionate photographers or filmmakers, but I think it can be a profitable one. This audience hates the mainstream. They love the art of photography and they love being creative. They value nostalgia. Kodak has the ability to own the vintage aesthetic. Think films of vintage tones, special effects, the square format instant film. This is a growing segment of photography enthusiasts today who value that unique aesthetic that Kodak, I believe, has the right to own. So now that we have a mission of owning the vintage aesthetic, what could a business look like that allows us to do that? First, let's acknowledge that it is a tough battle to build a better camera than today's smartphones, unless you are a professional photographer or in the commercial space. So let's get into a Kodak app that leverages the powerful hardware on your device, but layer the photography experience with an app that gives you that unique experience of an instant film camera, filters that brings that aesthetic to life, special effects, and easy-to-use editing tools that stay within this vintage world. How about camera equipment for today's content creators? Tripods, mounts, lenses, lights, stabilizers, you name it. Kodak is now amplifying today's powerful digital cameras on your phone rather than trying to compete against it. How would I position Kodak products in the market? Let's bring back the Kodak moment. There is still so much equity into that slogan. And honestly, in today's chaotic world of clutter and distraction, it can probably mean even more today than before. Target millennials and Gen Z with campaigns that capture this charm of the aesthetic and redefine what the Kodak moment can mean today. Partner with content creators who embrace this vintage aesthetic and ask them to share their most prized Kodak moments using Kodak products. Create a pop-up Kodak moment event with interactive photo booths, immersive experiences that bring this vintage aesthetic into our real world. I truly believe that Kodak can become relevant again today. And I feel like most of us don't really understand the photographic capability we have in the palms of our hands and these phones. But Kodak still has the legacy to make sense of it all. What do you guys think?
I think, it's an interesting angle because there's this new app that actually does this vintage thing. It's blowing up. It's called Flow, Phlow. Anyway, so it's doing it really well. I mean, people are just truly having a ball with this. But if they went with this multifaceted approach of not necessarily selling a product, but multiple things, so that anytime they think of creating a moment, they think Kodak is there. And so I love that angle, because you do have immersive, you had mentioned some immersive photo booths and things like that. Tagging the name Kodak with it, it may be a small little segment of your revenue, but you're registering, hey, I had this moment with Kodak. So great job, Don Draper.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And the idea of moments, and I think you can even go further and do like prints, right? So like having like a printer that's hooked up to your iPhone that prints instantly the Kodak style of the film, and bringing that idea of, hey, look, let me make an event or do something. Or you can even, go further and have like having a wedding and saying, hey, look, all you have to do is tap it on this printer and it prints out a Kodak style photo for you at these events or whatever it may be, right? I think there's a whole lot of memory things that you can do about capturing memories or holding that moment of Kodak, and I think there's something there, absolutely.
Well, that was our first edition of the Madman Lab, and it won't be the last. I think this was super fun. I think we'll continue to bring some new perspective and new challenges, but I appreciate you guys being the madman scientists you are, and bring Rebecca Cranston to dead. But otherwise, see you guys.
Hey, fabulous.
Men go mad.
He's gone mad.
Mad Men.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Mad Men.
I'm mad.